shrimp shumai, and then half of them have chili aioli. Okay?
Shrimp, what?
Steamed shrimp shumai.
Have you ever played rugby?
What is up, YouTube? The hybrid war rages on with another upload by Goji Center. So, new Goji Center video. Apparently, the next 8 that have been revealed. Apparently, these are the actual top 8 that could kill the Indom 2.0. So, I honestly don't think that that only these 8. I think like a lot of the honorable mentions could kill the Indom 2.0 as well. I think they're being a little what's the word, prideful. But aside from that, to continue the hybrid war, there's also Goji guy has teased a new hybrid called Reiner, and based off that, I'm assuming it's going to be very, very armored. So let's continue with the hybrid war, with the 8 hybrids that can kill the Indom.
With the 2.0 scourging and multiplying its way across a dinosaur park and beyond, a call was put out to stop this monstrosity. Over 1,600 geneticists and engineers.
Am I going to be here again?
Amongst the myriad of fantastic
no,
creations,
I think it's a different, just to show off more.
Into the top 16. And these 4 squads of 4, the cream of the crop.
I did not hear what he said. I was too busy looking to see.
Engineers answered. Amongst the myriad of fantastic creations, less than 1% could make it into the top 16. And these 4 squads of 4, the cream of the crop, now stand their final tests. Now, just a refresher on the rules here. While we are putting these hybrids against each other in the competition, they aren't getting pitted against each other in an actual fight. You can think of this top 16 like a squad sent against the 2.0 horde. There is no question that each of them has the capability to kill an Indominus 2.0 in a head-to-head fight given the right circumstances, with either strategy, luck, or raw power. The question will be answering who would have the best odds in that head-to-head fight against our monstrosity. All of the contestants will be pitted against a healthy adult 2.0 on neutral flat ground with more than enough space to maneuver. No setup, no ambushes, no tools, no advantages.
He doesn't get his stupid metal pole. Let's go.
Fight. The evaluation method was discussed in a previous video, but to recap, the aspects taken into account will be the following. Criteria number 1, which of these 2 is capable of bringing down the 2.0 in less time? Taking a larger percentage of the evaluation score is number 2. What will the health condition be after the fight is over? Will the hybrid remain unscathed, or will it be critically injured?
He's one of my lesser favorites.
Die after the fight? The next criteria, and less heavy to the evaluation score,
Ceratops.
is what is the likelihood of this animal being outsmarted in the fight?
Oh, probably very likely. Arctosaurus! That's my goat right there. The one all the way on the other side. That's the one I want to win, because it's the most like my hybrid. Him and Gilgamesh and Minifagax. I have a top 4. I have a top 4.
Matchup number 1. In our first matchup, we have the greatest of our flying hybrids contrasted with one who arguably comes the closest to battling like their opponent.
I like Predator Rex.
The 2.0 are mostly measured in increments rather than stark contrast. Essentially, everything it can do, its opponent can do to some degree or another, and vice versa. If the only deciding factor was who would take the least amount of damage dispatching a 2.0, the Valkyrie actually would come out victorious with far less damage. Relying on long distance, long-reach peck attacks, and dive bomb maneuvers, it could inflict lethal damage on
it's so, like, not durable.
A beak that big, with that much force behind it at this size, can rupture bone and cause lethal brain damage. However, it is a glass cannon. It can certainly win without taking any major hits in return, but if the 2.0...
Oh, do they actually do art of each of them fighting the Indom 2.0? That'd be awesome.
Enough that it can get off a charge and tackle, it'll be curtains for the Valkyrie of Valhalla. Basically, Valkyrie would win if and only if it doesn't let the Indom land any hits in return. And that's
it's whoever gets the first blow.
Scenario rules. A fight between the 2.0 and Predator Rex would be a slugfest, and no matter who wins, they might walk away with potentially lethal wounds. However, Predator Rex can stay in the fight a lot
Ooh.
longer because
That's
of its
fucking
sturdier
cool. I
build,
love this
greater
art.
weight, and armor. Together, these two would be nearly
wanna
unstoppable,
do other
but
online
only
now.
one can continue on to the next round. Vega continues forth with
Yeah!
the first honor.
Yeah! Let's go!
In this
Predator
conflict.
X. That's who I was
Matchup number
wanting to
2.
win.
Sometimes some of the best offense starts with superb defense, and these two embody that spectacularly. Gigantotherium has a greater advantage in reach, however, and maneuverability. Being able to operate partially on 2 legs, it'll be able to turn and reposition a lot faster
That's
than its
true.
quadrupedal companion
It'll be more
combatant.
agile. Yeah.
Ferropelta, meanwhile, doubles down on defense and would fight chiefly by having the 2.0 come to it. In a contest fought in the wilds, the 2.0 might be able to completely avoid the slower armored dinosaur by just staying out of reach, using
That's
projectiles
true.
in some limited capacity, or simply outrunning it. However, this is not a hunt in the wilds.
Yes.
This is a fight to the death in a set space with no tools. And
Mhm.
when your best offense is your defense, whoever's defense falters first loses first. With that
So,
in mind,
I think that's a win for
Gigantotherium
Ferropelta.
absolutely does have superior offensive abilities, but it does come at the cost of its own protection.
Yeah.
It's not fast enough to easily chase down the 2.0, so it would be forced to be reactive in its attacks. And while greater reach certainly can help, it's against an
I
opponent
love
that is
the
more
art of them
agile and
fighting. That's
capable of
amazing.
dodging and
I love
maneuvering
that.
quite quickly. It would still be a deadly opponent, and might take down just as many 2.0 that can take it out. But its armor is less extensive on the face, neck,
His
and
little beard.
artery-rich
It's better than
areas
mine.
like the joints.
I
Ferropelta,
have his
meanwhile, would be
goatee and
taking far
fucking
more hits, but
stubble
it
in
could
my neck.
afford to do so.
Hate 'em.
Being low to the ground with a wide body and extending armor, flipping it over would be drastically harder to do versus the long-legged InGen Ankylosaurus. Surprisingly enough, one of its best assets might actually be its jaws. With the 2.0 wisely trying to avoid the tail, most of its attacks would have to be directed at the face. And while it might be nimble enough to dodge slower charges and horn stabs, its feet and hands would be in grappling range by that sharp beak. Ceratopsian dinosaurs have the strongest
Really strong
bites
bite
of
force,
any
yeah.
herbivore to ever live on land. Seizing hold of a limb would prove a
Oh,
viable
that's-
strategy.
I love the art.
Charge
The
and
art is
rush, or
amazing.
slowing down the 2.0 enough to whirl around for a tail strike. Gigantotherium definitely brings better offensive options to the table for the coming conflict, but the literally ironclad defense of its comrade carries Ferropelta into round 2.
Who's
Matchup
next?
number 3. These two would have completely different combat strategies on confronting the 2.0. The Theropod King would be able to end the fight a
Holy
lot quicker
shit!
thanks to greatly enhanced agility and maneuverability, hitting a sweet spot of size and speed
That thing's
to not be
huge.
at a deficit for either. If it can seize the 2.0 by the neck, its powerful bite and shredding teeth could potentially open up the throat even with its foe's armor. However, Theropod Rex would be hoping for a quick victory in this comparison. If it turns into a more dragged out fight, or if it starts taking hits, its chances are going to diminish. By comparison, the armored Titan is practically built for such an endurance match, taking arguably the most powerful land animal to ever live, another sauropod with superb reach, and giving it armor means it can take hit after hit without risking any shots to the vitals. It might
true.
wind up slashed, bitten, and bloodied, but it could weather the storm long enough to get a retaliation hit in and secure
Yeah, that
victory.
fucking tail would be
While
crazy.
it may even be outsmarted
Holy!
by the 2.0 in many cases, the fact that this hybrid would secure more victories regardless of being not as smart as the 2.0 and it being in better physical
His
shape
jaw is
after said
broke.
victories,
Damn.
this will be certainly helpful in advancing to the next round. Theropod Rex strikes hard, but bats a lower average than its larger counterpart and will be kept in reserve. The simple but effective armored Titan shifts into the next round. Matchup number 4.
Ah!
Despite drastically
We're back.
different body types, these two armored herbivores arguably
I love that
have
fucking
similar
face.
strategies. Being reinforced
But
and
I
large
want
enough to
Corona
endure a
Ceratops.
fight, they are built to exploit potentially lethal assets to get a retaliation blow against their opponent. Ceratops has a potential one-shot kill ability. if it
Yeah,
gets
and
a
that
solid
thing
core attack
is
with those horns. Most types of body armor that still allow for flexibility, like what the 2.0 has, are still vulnerable to large, piercing attacks. And with horns even bigger than Triceratops' infamous arsenal, landing
Yeah.
a hit like that is going to rend and rupture no matter what it strikes. That said, however, this armored horn head would need to be reactive instead of proactive. It can't waste stamina chasing down its faster opponent with a charge. This means it would be best suited to stand its ground and fence and lunge against the 2.0 instead of a full throttle charge. Mundosaurus, meanwhile,
Is this a
exchanges
small
some
one?
of
Yeah,
its
this is the small
maneuverability
one.
and directional attacks for reach.
No offense to
That
bro, but I
tail
don't know
tip
how
in
it got in
club
here with
taken
so
from
like
another
being such a
sauropod
small
is a near
sauropod.
perfect addition for
With the
congruency
neck
on
being
top
so
of the stocky
exposed, I don't see how it made it
apatosaurus-like
into the
body.
top 16.
While it would only be lethal in one lucky shot with a direct hit to the face, it would still bludgeon muscle and break bone on impact if it landed a blow across the rib cage or legs of its opponent.
Yeah.
Its long reach also means attacking from anywhere but the front puts the 2.0 in striking range for the Munda first before the 2.0 can even get an attack off on its own. Similar to the Valkyopteryx,
Yeah.
instances where the Mundosaurus was victorious would probably result in less injuries on it, since it would be able to kill off the 2.0 before it could get hurt itself. However, if the 2.0 can close the distance and either climb on top of its foe
Bro, the
or
art makes
attack
me
from
so
the
happy.
front,
It looks so
would
good.
stand substantially better odds. The Munda would still be able to.
I wanna see the
even
art with
in
Gilgamesh.
that disadvantageous
Yes!
position, but its counterpart, meanwhile, is
Gilgamesh
much better
and
defended. Lower to the ground,
Nemifegax,
with more coverage for its armor,
Arctosaurus.
a thick frill shield to protect
You
the
can tell
neck,
I just
and
like
still being
carnivores.
light enough to
I don't
throw its
care
weight
from
around
my
to try and
childhood.
dislodge an attacker. Tyrannoceratops would get its opportunities to line up that lethal strike more
Oh.
effectively.
Oh,
Not to mention
in the
that the
calf.
horned giant
I understand
isn't the
that
most
pain.
stupid
My calves are
either.
crazy. Oh.
Augmentations to this creature's brain means that this fella leverages its own defensive play with finesse and is less likely to make miscalculations when attacking. In a very close call, the armored hornhead proceeds past its cohort that remains on call for backup.
Hell yeah, Corona.
Matchup number 5. Both of these resilient combatants can go the distance
Come on.
against their opponent.
Come on,
How
Arcto.
they do it will be the deciding factor.
Come on, Arcto.
Arctosaurus lacks any major critical weak spots aside from the underside
Awesome
of the
fucking
throat,
design.
which
This is
would
my
be hard to
favorite by
access
far.
considering its lower stance and center of gravity compared to its opponent. Additionally, its lighter weight means it'll be plenty agile enough to keep its business end pointed squarely
Yeah.
at the 2.0. Outflanking it will be extremely difficult for its opponent. As soon as either gets in range of each other, it would be a bloody mess of gnashing teeth and claws once they get a hold of each other.
Exactly.
Titan, meanwhile, is probably the slowest animal in the whole competition, thanks to both its sheer size and extensive armor. That does, however, mean that it is also one of the hardest animals to actually meaningfully damage. Short of climbing on its back, which is risky business because it's not gonna just stand still and let itself get scaled Shadow of the Colossus style. There isn't really much important an opponent the size of the 2.0 can reach. The sauropod, however, only needs one good hit to make the fight count.
Yeah, but
in
bro
a
is
protracted
son.
battle
Bro.
in the jungles, it might find itself in a big disadvantage if the 2.0 could try and ambush it time and time again before retreating under cover. The same kind of conditions wouldn't inhibit
Oh!
Tyrannosaurus, who would
Hell
rely
yeah, that
on
looks
rushing
good.
the other hybrid and getting inside its reach to maul
That
it.
looks so good.
However, this matchup in a setting with neutral ground, it's not as much of the matter of who can win the fastest, but who can be left standing the most after they win. Arctosaurus could stand victorious, but it would be heavily mauled in the effort.
No,
Afrotitan,
Arcto ain't
meanwhile,
making
has
it.
a shot at winning the battle of attrition by staying in the fight long enough to land the hit it needs. For that, it proceeds
No,
as the best frontline
Arcto!
option, with its counterpart best serving as an ambushing backup against the 2.0.
No!
Quick parenthesis here. You may have noticed that we're purposefully hiding some of the specifics of the evaluation methods on screen. That's because we aren't going to let you guys in on spoiling the entire tournament just
That's
yet.
true.
Just stay put and we'll reveal the specifics at the end of the tournament. Matchup number 6. Moving on to the next round. This
Right,
round
Spino
actually
Venator
one
was
of
the-
closest in the top 16.
Was Akira.
Spino Venator, aka Akira, relies almost
Was Akira,
entirely
yeah.
on speed and agility, but is still big enough and has lethal enough weapons to take a hit or two.
It would be
and
like
get
a-
that critical strike it needs
yeah.
to win.
It would be like a,
Yamabrotorax,
yeah.
aka Gilgamesh, is an
Oh.
armored tank, but one with surprising amounts of agility and maneuverability to put some speed behind that power. Both of these hybrids are very
I think I got
well-defended,
Gilgamesh
one
in
with
this.
armor to take hits, and the other with agility to dodge hits. Akira would have a way towards a clean victory, whilst avoiding most chances of retaliation blows from its opponents, getting it by the back of the neck and attacking the flanks or
Yeah, it'd be
spine
like a
where it is
Jaguar.
hard to reach.
Like killing a
Fighting
caiman.
into it can
Shit
prove
like
a
that.
surprisingly nasty strategy, as it might result in a bundle of quills getting jammed into the 2.0's mouth. However, that kind of defense does mean that Akira is still put at risk of a nasty injury. It certainly is well defended, but its counterpart Gilgamesh would be able to weather hits much more easily. And unlike
It would
most
be
of the
really
other
cool if they did,
armored
like, an
hybrids,
annual hybrid war
Gilgamesh does still
once
have
every
some
year.
predatory weaponry of its own. With its powerful jaws and sharp teeth, it can use in tandem
Gilgamesh
with
is a
sheer
problem for the
size
Indom,
and
that's
its
all I'm
spiny
saying.
defense, allowing it to win a matchup with the 2.0 quickly with a swift trample and bite combo. For
Yeah.
now, Akira will be kept on call for the critical role of dispatching the faster, younger 2.0 packs before they have a chance to grow in size or number. Out of the final 16, Akira is the best at this task. Gilgamesh, meanwhile, proceeds on to the next round to fight the big ones. Matchup number 7. Both of these hybrids are heavily armored and would take a lot
these
of
two the
abuse to finally
sauropods?
get brought down. Lucano Venator steps
Oh,
into
right,
the fray
that
with
one.
somewhat less defense in exchange for greater reactivity and agility, whereas its counterpart Armatus Gigantus
Right, okay.
instead maximizes raw size and defense. Of the two, Armatus Gigantus would be the one taking the most damage in most of the scenarios it comes out victorious. Its armor is not entirely extensive across the whole body. However, that body is nothing to sneeze at either.
Yeah.
It would be slow, it would
It's
have
a
a hard time
sauropod,
landing
so
a hit in
it's
some situations,
already
but
gonna be
it
hard to
only
take down.
needs to hit once.
Yeah.
Even a glancing strike from the tail would mean the 2.0 just had multiple times its own weight smashing into it. If that doesn't kill, it would at the very least disable long enough for a follow-up stomp.
Yeah.
And because Armatus Gigantus doesn't have
It's-
extensively
it's-
bulky
it's a
armor,
sauropod.
it
It's
would be
low-key
able
got
to
it a
land
little
those
free.
hits more easily than if it was completely covered in spikes and plates. Venom doses from the 2.0 would also be staved off thanks to sheer size and a powerful immune system. Lucano Venator, meanwhile, would be substantially more reactive and able to brawl more effectively than its counterpart.
We can continue.
Lethal claw and bite attacks, it makes up for with speed and lateral armor that can stab and rend. Grappling it or wrestling with it carries a hefty risk of a saw-bladed tail swipe, and the
Yeah.
lucky shot to the head or neck could be a death blow right out the gate. Deciding between these two is tricky. Despite the size difference, Lucano Venator would have actually done better against the 2.0 in a confined space like a forest. However, evaluating that fairly
Oh, we
would
said
be
would've.
impossible
I
because
think I
this
know what that
competition
means.
needs neutral ground. Because the tank of its team would survive more close-up battles, Lucano Venator will be kept in reserve for deployments against 2.0s in jungle environments, as its colossally titanic ally proceeds on. Matchup number 8.
Nemi!
This round was one of the
Nemi's
hardest
one of the
ones
ones.
to call. Both of these hybrids are powerhouse brawlers that can hit hard and take hits while still having plenty of dexterity. Nemi Faganex has some of the most devastating weapons in the top 16.
Oh, it's Fake
including
Anax.
one
I thought it
of,
was
if
Nemi
not the
Fake
most
Axe.
powerful bite amongst the roster. And with its stocky frame and powerful build, it would be able to weather a lot of abuse while landing these critical bites in the midst of a brawl. Its counterpart, Monstrotherium, trades some offense for more armored defense, while
true.
still having plenty of capability for brawling all on its own. A fight with either of these two pitted against a 2.0
Come on, Nemi.
would be a
I
bloody,
believe in
messy
Nemi.
affair if one of the sides didn't get a critical hit right out the gate with a bite to the throat. Both
Yeah.
teammates are capable of grappling.
It's the
and
weak
following
points,
up
bro.
with
It's
a
the neck.
devastating hit, while also not being so extremely heavy that they would be cumbersome. Based on raw stats such as weight and distribution, the 2.0 is still more agile than either of them. But the gap wouldn't be insurmountable with their own dexterity and great reach. While we determined that Nemi would actually kill faster given its greater bite capabilities, dexterity, and speed, and both hybrids' genetic contributors allowed it to be relatively equal in terms of smarts, the deciding factor came down
is
to
true.
the type of armor and health after the brawl.
Uh-oh.
In this specific evaluation round, this is determined by both criteria 2 and 4. While the crocodilian contributors on both the 2.0 and Nemi are very resistant to different forms of damage, the curved and
Cutie.
thick claw shape of Allosaurus anax, previously referred to as Saurophaganex,
My
is actually
favorite.
one of the most effective rending claw shapes in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
If backed up by sufficient force, this shape could pierce even the thickest hides, bolstered further by
Ooh.
iron deposits
Ooh.
present in
Ooh.
both of these animals. This means that
Is my
matchup,
favorite
2.0
dinosaur gonna win it
versus
for it?
Nemi, will be a bloody mess regardless of who wins.
Oh, they
This
both both have
will be
Saurophagan
affected
axe, right?
more. An attempt to mitigate this was the addition of alligator DNA, animals that are known to reduce blood flow to injured limbs. This works to some degree, but not so well in the midst of combat. Depriving a limb from blood flow during use will end up working against both of these hybrids
wow.
regardless, unable to carry
That's
oxygen to
really
the muscle
good.
and
What
take
the
away
fuck?
lactic
Why was that
acid and
animation
carbon
awesome?
dioxide. Either you bleed
Little, like-
and try to end the fight as quickly as you can, or mitigate blood loss and fight with a less functional limb.
Yeah.
Monstro, on the other hand, is clad in armor that is more resistant to this certain type of weapon. Keratin scale armor from the pangolin bolstered with iron. While slower and more sluggish than Nemi, this armor would allow Monstro to stay in the fight longer while fending off claw damage that would
That's true,
otherwise
'cause they
hurt
both
Nemi
have
more often.
Saurophagan axe.
Tanking damage better with an effective immune system, a robust build, and lower center of gravity than its counterpart, we found that this creature would likely pull more wins. Granted, in a longer time, but also remain in a healthier state after each victory. It is a shame to see a formidable hybrid like Nemi be left behind.
No!
early, but he will be kept in reserve as the heavy assault striker to act as backup for the rest of the squad.
love
advancing
Nemi,
to the
bro.
next
Nemi's
round.
top
And
3.
with the conclusion of the first round, we can now eagerly anticipate what the results of the next contest of these
on,
aces will
Predator
be.
X.
Keep in mind, the results of any of these comparisons could have wound up the other way had the random drawing selected differently. So, be sure to congratulate those not proceeding on, as
Yeah.
we prepare for round 2 to narrow down the results and find out who among this now final 8 will continue.
Who do we have left? We have Ceratops, Armored Titan, Ferropelta, Predator X, Atherotitan, Yamabrontorax, and Brutalis, and Gigantus. Okay. My favorites of the remaining are Predator X, Ceratops, and Yamabrontorax. I love those guys. Those are all great designs. And, cool as fuck hybrids. So,
Closer to determining the champion of the first great hybrid war.
yeah, okay. Hype. Do we have anything else after this, or just fades to black? It fades to black. Yo, the hybrid war is so hype. Where was I? The hybrid war is so hype, bro. So, like, they said the first. Does that mean, in some capacity, I feel like maybe we'll have the Ultimasaurus be the next year's one. Who knows? But anyway, this was fucking awesome. I love every hybrid war video, but we'll see who makes it. Who's my guess? I'd love to see like Gilgamesh or Predator Rex, but I don't think they're gonna be the final ones. I have a feeling it's gonna be one of the sauropods, but we'll see. And this has been a great video, and I'll see y'all on the next one.